Hi, this is Taryn, and this is my final end of the semester summary. Basically this video is just a representation of my experience in the course, and I just picked a select few of, the discussion topics, Arduino projects, and neat resources that stood out to me the most this semester. For the sake of time, I'm not going to read through them all. I'll kind of just touch on a few things, but they are just a selection of the ones that stood out to me the most, so not every single one is going to be on here. I am pursuing a B in this course, so just keep that in mind as you're going throughout, as we're going throughout the presentation, and at the end I have it all compiled and you can see the grade. So the discussions, the ones that stood out to me the most were the 3 questions. It was interesting just to hear everybody's different. I never realized how many different definitions for reality you could come up with until I read everybody's discussions, and so this really broke the ice, I think, with the class. And for me, I just said reality is something that exists, and therefore I think physics is definitely real. So that was an interesting discussion. Again, the teach and test I talked about before. This is exactly how this class is, and I think memorization is a valuable skill, but ultimately, to get the best learning experiences, to take away the most information, to truly learn it, you cannot just memorize information. And so that's like that educational bulimia, and it's just not effective for lifelong skills. Boys and gaming, this TED Talk was really interesting. A lot of people I know may disagree, but I definitely think schools are tailored more toward girls, and I think it just, they're not engaging boys enough, and I think that if they can try and create activities to engage the boys more, then they will maybe be more into school and they'll get more out of it. The value of higher education, we can all relate to this one. College is expensive, and basically it's just turning into a supply and demand type of business. And at one time there wasn't a high demand for a college degree. Now there's a huge demand for it, and prices have skyrocketed. And who knows, one day a bachelor's degree might not even be as valuable as it is now, because everyone's going to have them. It's going to be like a high school degree. Now you're going to need a master's degree. So the Elegant Universe, I thought this was really interesting. I hadn't heard about the string theory or much about it before. I watched this video. It was really a lot for me to wrap my brain around, but I thought it was cool how it kind of really made you question what we've always learned about atoms being the basic building blocks for everything, and now they're saying there's these tiny vibrating strings that connect everything in the universe. And I like the comparison they made about it being a grand symphony, and this tiny vibrating strings are the various notes that make up the components of our universe. And I thought that was really good for those people who need a visual representation. Arduino projects, chapter 4, the color mixing lamp. I really enjoyed this one. It was fun. You can the most interesting for me was how they said that you could use it, to maybe tell the weather. If the light is dim, then chances are it's brighter outside, so the weather is nicer. When the light is bright, that means it's dim in the room, and so we just could see how this LED light changed according to the intensity of the light. Chapter 6, the electronic music. We did 2 sets of it, one with 1 resistor and one with two runs of it, sorry. We tried putting the potentiometer on it to change the voltage and the volume, but it wasn't really working. But I'd imagine that the more voltage going into the system, the higher the volume would be. And so here's a video of a short snippet of that. Okay? And then for chapter 11, the crystal ball. This one wasn't too intricate, it just was fun because it's kind of like the toys that we're all used to playing with when we were little. So there wasn't much to it other than changing the sketch around to make it respond differently, but here's a picture of that. The Santa Claus hack that we did, chapter 15, this was my favorite. We were able to connect the button right here to the Arduino and make it play on like a timed interval, and that video is kind of long, so for the sake of time I'm not going to play it, but feel free to go through when you're watching it and play it. The neat resources for the cool printing, I really enjoyed the cool printing. I'd never heard of a 3D printer before this one, so it was interesting to see how they use plastic filament and feed it through this machine, and it creates these objects. For neat Arduino projects, there were a lot of neat projects people came up with. The one that I found that I really liked was this LED like blinker jacket. And it's useful, I felt like, and actually functional. Another one I really liked was the face booth and the light up dance floor. The mechatronics is very popular these days, especially in the medical field, and I pertain it most to physical therapy because that's what I'm interested in. And so, you know, the mechatronics I see in that right now in the clinic I work at is a traction table, and basically it just helps with spinal decompression and other spinal ailments. Again, there's a link to that, and you can look at that when you go through this. Faraday cages, again, are really interesting. I'm surprised I'd never really heard of them before, but they're everywhere. On airplanes, they keep the electrical current from interfering with everything on the plane. Same with the MRI machine. They're in this room that act as a Faraday cage to keep the currents from disrupting the machines or the readings. The hardware hacking, again, pertaining to physical therapy. Taking a simple treadmill and making it an anti-gravity treadmill. I thought that was really interesting, and it really helps lessen the pain, and it's less impact and improves mobility and strength, and it's safer for patients who are in rehab. And so these are becoming increasingly more popular in physical therapy clinics, which is why I chose to talk about that. And it's a derivative of a simple treadmill. And then again, the theory of everything, which I touched on before, just I thought it was really interesting how they compared it to the Grand Symphony, and basically it's the same as the discussion. For cultural science, I went to the Arizona Science Center. I went to the All About Me exhibit, shocker. The exhibit was just an all-inclusive experience of the human body and the different systems. You can see the pictures here from here. My favorite part was this x-ray machine, and when you slide it over, it talks about whatever part of the body it's slid over. This food as fuel was really cool. You're supposed to ride the bike and try and get the ball to go as high as you can, and whatever these labels read, that's how many calories or how much fuel you need to do that work for an hour. So you can kind of read through this. Those are the two favorite things I had. I spent some time putting together the body puzzle. That was fun. Just was an all-inclusive experience of the anatomy and physiology of the human body, so I really enjoyed that. Controversial debates. These are the three that stood out to me the most. Let's see. First of all, the landing on the moon. I didn't even realize that was a controversial issue until, they talked about how the picture, how that wasn't really a accurate representation of what would be happening on the moon, and so that really kind of makes you question the validity of it. And although I wouldn't think that was a hoax, it kind of evidence supports maybe otherwise. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. I always believed what I heard in textbooks, so I don't know. I just thought that one was really interesting. I never heard that before. So also, I'd never heard of the conspiracy theories regarding 9/11. I personally think 100% those were terrorist attacks. Trying to say that, no building in history has ever reported being collapsed in this way due to a fire is kind of weak sauce, I think. A plane flew into the building, okay? Obviously, it's possible for it to fall vertically, so I think that's ridiculous and seems like a far stretch. I understand people believe the government might actually be behind this kind of tragedy, but I would like to believe otherwise. Also, the topic of vegetarianism. Again, I personally am not a vegetarian, and I don't think it's necessarily a better, more healthy lifestyle. They have to do a lot of supplementing, and it is expensive, but on the other hand, meat does have a lot of growth hormones and impurities in it, so you have to buy special, grass-fed, organic, that kind of stuff. So I could see where you could argue both sides. The additional content, I don't want to get too much into this, but again, these are just the three that stood out to me. I did go through them all, but I didn't really know how you wanted us to document these because there wasn't much to them. So the semiconductors, I thought was really interesting, just how those all work. I think I'm running out of time on here, so I wrote it all down so you can read it. Same with the MRI machines and how it's just this big superconducting magnet. I knew it was magnetic, but it's just kind of cool how it works. And actually, I want to pull this picture up that shows. Just shows how an MRI works, and the atoms spin in random directions like a top, and then they line up like this, and then when the radio frequency is turned off, the atoms turn into normal position, emitting energy, and then the energy sends a signal to the computer, and the computer uses that formula to convert a signal into an image. So this I thought was really cool, and I just wanted to show that picture. And then the nuclear medicine has always been interesting as well. The PET scans and how you have this radioactive substance that can emit this image with these different isotopes. So, okay, the animatronics hack. Basically, here are the pictures of the hack. Here's a video down here. I'm not going to play it again for the sake of time. Here are the pictures of it. Here's your Arduino setup, the button, the sketch. It's set up with the Arduino. We used a MP3 player shield, and we put the Star Wars theme song on it while Yoda danced. Again, here's the video down here. Feel free to click on it. The final project. This was the Yoda we used, and he came and he had a speaker with different Yoda phrases on it. The final project. This was the motion detector we used because it was going to be, you could be able to walk by him and then he'd start moving and talking. So this is the one we got, the Virtuobotics. Again, here's the sketch, and we used this Instructables website to help us build the board and complete the sketch. Here are the pictures of it all set up. Here's the motion detector. Here's the Yoda speaker that we got from inside the Yoda, this blue thing. And then the final project, we began with a dancing Santa Claus, as you saw, and he sang "Here Comes Santa Claus." We finished with the dancing Yoda, and here's a video. Okay, and here's the checklist for B. I completed 100% of the daily assignments, including the bio setup, Arduino submissions. I contributed to 11 discussions, and I posted 4 to 8 responses for each. I've posted 12 neat resources. You only needed 11, and I also included a 50-word abstract. I completed a weekly summary every week, highlighting what I learned that week. I visited the Arizona Science Center and completed a 1.5-page reaction paper, which you only needed 1 page. And I commented on all the controversial debate papers. On any given week, I spent roughly 5 to 7 hours a week, so it came out to a total of 90 or so hours. Obviously, that's an estimate. I mean, some weeks I spent more, some weeks I spent less, so that's just an estimate. Sorry for having to rush through this. 15 minutes goes by a lot faster than I thought. So feel free to go back and look through it and play any videos. I did have a lot of videos on there, as well as picture links, and you can see the hyperlinks that are programmed in there. Thank you so much. I really learned a lot in this course, and I really enjoyed it. Thanks.